Welcome to Jim and Julie's Adventures. That's not Julie. This is my cousin Derek. Say hi, Derek.
Hi, Derek.
We're going to go for a ride today. We'll tell you where we're going, about our bikes, the camera setup, and a few other things about other trips that we've taken. So let's go. Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's do it. My cousin and I have done a lot of street bike and dirt bike motorcycle trips and rides over the last 15 years after 20 plus years of not seeing each other. This video is one of those rides. Come along for the ride and I promise you won't regret it. Just before we turned off Highway 26, we stopped to turn on all the cameras and microphones. That's a cop right there, so.
Is it really? Oh, yeah.
Let's go when there's nobody.
Okay.
We still good?
Yep.
Okay, we're turning left right up here.
So I naturally kind of go to your right anyway.
Yeah.
When we stop
and I'm supposed to be over here on the left side if we're doing proper formation.
Right.
Which I don't want anybody to call me out on that on the video. Okay, we're turning left. Nobody behind us. Nope. Nobody in front of us. Right turn permitted without stopping.
All right. It's a cool road.
I know. All of this is really pretty. From here to Astoria is pretty much really scenic all the way. So where are we going today? We're going to Astoria. From my house, it's 2.5 hours going the way that we go, which is out Highway 26 and then north through Jewel Mist because we're going to go past the Elk Preserve.
And yes, and I've never been there before. And I'm also looking forward to these fish and chips that you mentioned.
I am too. We may have to put a chair behind you so that when you take a taste and your knees buckle. That's good.
Oh, man.
So we're going to go to the Astoria column, and we're going to go to bow pickers, which is a fish and chips place that they cook out of a boat.
Sounds pretty fishy to me.
So my bike is a 2016 BMW R1200 RT, and yours is a what?
Mine is a 2005 Honda ST1300.
So for cameras today, riding with Derek, I've got my 360 mounted on my handlebars, and I've got my Osmo Action 4 on my helmet, and then Derek has an Osmo Action 3 mounted on his helmet, and we're using the DJI Wireless Mic 1 transceivers recording internally in the helmet with lavalier mics. I am running the receiver to the 360 camera just to sync the audio later, but I'm going to use the internal recordings. The history. So Derek and I are cousins. We're 3 days apart. I'm 3 days older. And we grew up together. We lived in different places, so we didn't see each other all the time growing up. Like, how often do you think we saw each other when we were kids?
Less than once a year, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure, less than once a year. Yeah. But often enough that we grew up as cousins, right? And we were the same age. I remember visiting you in Forks, and you had a dirt bike. And I can't remember what age we were. I'm sure we were over 10.
I think it was when I had my dirt bike, I was 14, and I bought that bike. My stepdad bought that bike at a garage sale in Montana with traveler's checks. Remember American Express?
Yeah.
Traveler's checks. He bought it for $300. It was a 1974 Hodaka Wombat 125, and I loved that bike. It's my first bike. I'm still looking for, like, on Facebook to see if there's any for sale.
It had the chrome gas tank, right?
Chrome gas tank, chrome fenders. It had a rack on the back. It was a dual sport. I was 14, riding through town in Forks, riding up in the mountains, no helmet, no license, no one ever even questioned anything.
Yeah, back then, it was a different day. Do you have a picture of that bike?
I do have one picture. My mom had a Polaroid of that, or not, it wasn't a Polaroid, it was, I remember, it's funny how your memory works. I can't remember somebody's name 5 seconds after I meet them.
Yeah.
But I can remember that this was a Kodak 110 Instamatic camera with the tower flash on it that you could change out, and that was the camera that I took that picture of that bike. Well, the only picture I have of it.
Well, then we didn't really we didn't run into, we didn't see each other
for like 20 years.
At least 20 years. We may have seen each other at, I think there was some kind of a family reunion somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we hadn't seen each other in at least 20 years. And then my dad passed away. And your mom, Derek's mom, lived with my dad. My dad was single. And your mom kind of took care of my dad. I mean, he wasn't needing like medical care, but she kind of kept him. You know, she was like I don't know if you'd call it an assistant, but I think she like
a caregiver. She was helping him with meals and
right.
You know, doing stuff.
Yeah, keeping the house clean and so when he passed away, she was over at the house to collect some of her stuff, and me and my wife went to clean out my dad's trailer, and of course you came to help your mom, and there we were, and we saw each other. And so you were there with your wife Rena, I was there with Julie, and we started talking while we were going through my dad's place, cleaning stuff out and taking stuff, and we found out that we had all these things the same or in common. Like, we had the same phone. At the time, I think we had the early version of the BlackBerry that had the little scroller wheel on the side, on the right side where the thumb was. And we were like, oh, that's the phone I have. And then somehow something came up about dirt bikes, and we didn't have the same dirt bike, but we had the same size. I had a 250 Yamaha, and you had a 250 Kawasaki. And oh, you ride dirt bikes, I ride dirt bikes. Then we found out that we were both obsessed with the same TV show, King of Queens. And we started talking about that, sharing lines about that. And then we found out the big one was we both had the same pair of dogs. I had a Beagle and a Chihuahua, and you did also. And we were like, no way. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it was like one thing after another that were like twins that were separated, where they, you know what I mean?
You like food, I liked food.
Yeah. That was part of it. And so we started talking about, from that point on, we connected with our numbers, and we started talking through the messenger of the BlackBerry right away.
Yep.
And we were like talking all the time. I don't know if it was every day early on or not, but I think it was probably pretty close to that, if not that. And we set up a dirt bike trip. Let's plan a dirt bike trip. And so when my dad passed, I got my dad's truck. And it was a 95 Ford F-150 straight six or inline six. What did they call those, Derek?
Yeah, yep, straight six.
And it was a stick shift 5-speed. And it was down on the floorboard. I really liked that truck. And I bought a really lightweight camper to go with it. We're turning left here. And I bought this light camper to go with it. Didn't even have a shower or bathroom in it. But it had a little sink and a little ice box. It wasn't even a refrigerator. I can't remember if it had a propane heater. I don't think so.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, it did have a little heater?
Yeah, it had a little tiny heater. I remember it.
Okay. And we did a trip, and it was in 2010. My dad passed in late 2009, and in July, right around our birthdays, the following year, so 7 months later, 8 months later, you and I did our first dirt bike trip over there at East Fort Rock, Central Oregon. You drove down, and you had your bike in the back of your truck, and I pulled our bikes in a trailer behind my dad's truck with the camper on it, and you brought that makeshift shower, and that's what we used to shower.
Not together.
No, not together. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
That was the same trip. I had a really cheap generator. Like I can't remember how many watts it was, but it wasn't that many. And let's see if there's elk down here, because we're coming up to the elk thing. Somebody's looking. And if there's nothing here, I don't have to go to the bathroom. We'll turn around and go down to the next one.
Is there a place to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, there is. There's a bathroom right here.
Oh yeah, I gotta go.
Okay, all right, we'll do
Good
that.
timing.
The other viewpoint's a better viewpoint, but it doesn't look like they're out. But they might be there. I don't know. I'll use the bathroom while we're here.
Is that it right there? Yeah, there it is. What are you gonna be in the shade? That's a good call. So where are the elk usually at? Just up in the fields?
Yeah. Yeah, the grass is really high.
What was
we're
the
gonna go down to the other pullout. We're just gonna pull in there
Okay.
just to see.
My phone wasn't charging the whole time. It's down to 50%.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it not plugged in?
It's plugged in, but that little USB power deal, it vibrates up, and I have to push it down sometimes. I should put some more tape around it so it sticks down, but it's charging now.
It's not too far down here, this other pullout. Yeah, we'll just pull in there and see. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're not going to see anything, but we could pull in there and see. Because it's possible that they're out there at an outskirt, and I could put the drone up and maybe get footage that way. We'll see.
There's not a whole lot of traffic on this road. I like that.
Yeah, I know. That's it, right here, right here. Whoa, 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 hello, hello.
Bringing it down. Bringing it down.
It's gravel, so it's the one thing I don't like about this spot.
We need to fix that.
That would be nice. This is where I usually stop when I come through here.
Oh, is that the fence you're talking about right there?
Yep. I've seen.
Ah.
I went right up to that fence, but I don't see any. I don't see anything.
they're probably hiding somewhere.
I mean, I could put the drone up and go over those trees and stuff, but I just don't think they're out. Oh, that's a better viewpoint. How come I never stopped there? I still didn't see them out there.
That's a pretty good area for them, though.
Yeah, I see deer out here on this road all the time. So where were we on the story? So we were.
So
the
the
generator.
Yeah.
So I had a TV DVD combo that we put inside the camper, and we had the cords for that and the microwave that we had, a small little tiny microwave. And the cords were running over our gas cans. Remember, how did we not think that that was a bad idea?
It was like 5-gallon gas cans, a generator, cords, a microwave. I mean, it just. I remember when I posted that picture, and a bunch of guys were like, "Were you purposely trying to make a bomb, or?"
Yeah. Next stop will probably be the column. Looks like about 40 minutes drive time. And so the next trip that we did was the big street bike trip to the Grand Canyon, because we did that in 2011, and we did that first dirt bike trip in 2010, but we did have a dirt bike trip in 2011 as well. I think the next dirt bike trip was 2011. I can't remember for sure. But we had the street bike trip. You went and bought the bike you have now. I had a 2003 BMW R1100 RT. GPSs that we were using were those Garmin 60s.
The CSX, yeah, yep.
Which aren't really navigation. They're not for navigation, but you could get a plug-in or an app that would allow you to navigate, and that's what we mounted on our bikes and used for navigation. We went to the Grand Canyon. You drove down from Washington. We left my house. We went across to Oregon. The first place we stayed was at Goose Lake, right on the border of Oregon and California.
Oh yeah, yep.
We camped that whole trip, except for we had a couple of nights where we stayed in a motel. We got forced to stay in a motel at least one night because of the windstorm. Remember that?
Yes.
We left the campground at Goose Lake, right on the border, Oregon, California, and then we got into Nevada. We went through Alturas, California, and cut over into Nevada, and then we started heading south, and it just started getting really windy. And I had remembered seeing severe wind on my phone, but for whatever reason, I didn't think too much about it. And we got into a windstorm that's the worst I've ever. We shouldn't even have been on bikes. It was too windy. And remember, we never saw any other bikes. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember we were angled so far. It was like 30 or 40 degrees. It seemed like our bikes were tipped over against the wind.
Yeah.
And then when a semi truck came by, it would block the wind and we'd go flying the other way.
Yeah.
That was scary.
I remember when we first got into it, we pulled over somewhere in Nevada. It was way north of Las Vegas. I know that. And we pulled over at a parking lot. We were just standing there with our feet on the ground, and the wind was so strong. We were concerned like it was going to blow us over while we were stopped in a parking lot. It was so strong, but we didn't have any other options. We had to keep going, and so we just took off. Anyway, we had a couple of days of that where we battled really strong winds.
There was also a sandstorm.
Yeah,
so you could see the way ahead. You could see the sand in the air, and then when we got into it, you couldn't really see it as well. But
and then we went through Las Vegas. The only thing we did in Vegas was we stopped at the Pawn Stars. At the time, both of us were watching that show, the Pawn Stars.
Yep.
And we stopped and took a picture at the sign, and then we continued on from there.
We stopped at McDonald's, got a cold drink real quick, and then I remember going out of town to this housing development, and then we ducked behind a building or something to get a little bit of shade because it was like 108, I think, is the temperature.
Yeah, it was hot.
And yeah, it was.
Well, it was 108 on our way back after we went to Grand Canyon. We went north and stayed in St. George. And when we were coming back across Nevada on our way to Lee Vining through Tonopah. We were in that stretch where it was 106 or 108 and windy still, but it was like getting hit with a hair blower. You know, just super hot all the way across the desert. But when we got down into the Grand Canyon, we went to Grand Canyon South. Then we went around from south side, we went to the north side on that road. I think it's 89 is the highway. And it takes you through kind of the gorge of the Grand Canyon. That's where we had a real sustained, strong side wind. That's where our bikes were leaning and the trucks would come the other way and they would block it for a second and then it would tip you up and then it would hit you again and you had to tilt back over. And I remember thinking to myself, or I may have said to you, I wonder if the cars coming the other way can see how far we're leaning over.
Right.
And then a group of motorcycles came the other way, and you could see how far they were. And I'm like, yep, you can see how far, because they were leaning way over, leaning into the wind. And then we went to the north side. We rode that road, which was a nice road to ride a motorcycle on, to the north rim. And then when we left there, we went to St. George. And then from St. George, we rode across Nevada. And then we went to Lee Vining. And we went north and we went around the west side of Lake Tahoe. And then stayed at a friend's house in Portola, which is north of Lake Tahoe. And then on the way home, we went by Crater Lake and saw that. That was a great trip. That was an epic first street bike trip. And I think it was close to 3,000 miles by the time it was all said and done, like 2,800 or something like that.
Well, by the time I got home, I'm pretty sure I was right at 3,500 miles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Coming up. That's kind of a bad spot to pass.
Let's go up that hill right now with our bikes.
There's the column. Does that look familiar?
It is. No, not at all.
Okay.
No,
cool.
I've never been here.
That's awesome.
We arrived at the Astoria column and paid the $5 parking fee. We took a few pictures of the view and the nearly 100-year-old column before we walked the 164 steps up the spiral staircase to the top. The column is 125 feet tall, and from the observation deck you get a spectacular view of the Columbia River, the Astoria-Megler Bridge, and the town of Astoria. After taking in the views of the Astoria column, we rode the short distance down the hill to get fish and chips at the renowned Bow Pickers. The ride down the hill reminded us of when we rode our bikes down the hills of San Francisco. Bow Pickers is a converted gillnet boat, and the fish is sourced from local fishermen and always fresh. We decided to get the fish and chips because that is all they make, and it did not disappoint. They also use thick-cut fries, my favorite. After lunch, we headed to the waterfront and put up the drone for some more views of the river and the bridge. This is the Columbia River Maritime Museum, and it is worth your time if you are in Astoria and like history.
He did the fingers wave.
We rode over the Astoria-Megler Bridge and back. The bridge was opened in 1996 and is the longest continuous truss bridge in North America. The bridge was designed to withstand wind gusts of up to 150 miles per hour. Thankfully, we didn't have that on our ride across the bridge.
Okay, so let's talk about this bridge. How far across is it?
I didn't know there was going to be a quiz.
I've read it. I can't remember how
I mean,
far.
I'll Google it. I just don't want to die.
Yeah. Well, we can Google it later. I'll put it up on the screen.
There you go. Like the year it was built, how long it is.
Yeah.
If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up. Derek and I have more motorcycle rides planned for the near future, so consider subscribing to see those videos.